Okay, boys and girls, today we're going to be painting the background for our still life picture. So you will be getting a piece of watercolor paper. You'll notice it's a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier than the regular white paper. And what I want you to do first, before we do any painting, is write your name and your code on the back of your paper with your pencil. Then you're going to turn your paper over. We're going to start with something called a watercolor wash, in which we actually wet the paper a bit with our water and then we put our watercolor on top of that. So you'll be using a thicker brush. If you have your 1-inch brush, we'll use that. And simply taking your brush and wetting your paper kind of quickly. We're going to go across it pretty quickly with the water. It's a big piece of paper. I do want you holding it what we call vertically, or the tall way. Some people might also know this as the portrait way, but we will be putting our color on here to start fairly quickly. We don't want that water to dry, so we want to do this pretty quickly, going all the way down to the bottom. Then you'll pick a color that you want to use for the background of your still life picture. If you wanted to, you could even do multiple colors. I'll let that up to you. I'm going to start with a blue color, and you can see that because my paper was wet, it's going to spread out pretty quickly here. So I'm going to simply add more blue, and I'm going side to side with my brush. I am not going up and down. I'm not going in circles. I am going side to side. I want to stick with the direction of my paper here. If you need to add a little bit more water to spread it out a bit more, you can certainly do that. And you're going to do this on the entire paper. You're going to take your watercolor and go all the way down the entire paper. Now I'm going to try to do this fairly quickly so you're not just sitting there watching me do this part. This will take you a few minutes. And again, if you wanted to maybe put another color or two into it, I'd be perfectly fine with that. Just try to make sure you're cleaning out your brush in between your colors. Make sure you get the edges nice and colored there. Go right to the edge with your brush. And we're going to go all the way down to the bottom of the paper. Spreading out that paint as you go. Adding a little bit more water, filling it in. Now I did this fairly quickly. It might take you a little bit longer, and that's okay. That's all right. I'm trying to speed up this process for the sake of the video. I want to go right to the bottom edge here. The other thing you could possibly do if you're not doing multiple colors, you might want to think about just making the color a little darker, maybe going to lighter. So if you wanted to, you could add a little bit more paint and sort of have it fade as it goes down, using a little less paint and a little bit more water. So you can control how dark or light you want that watercolor paint to be. So I'll put a little bit more here at the top. Okay. Now that I have finished filling in my entire paper with this watercolor wash, I want to paint a table here at the bottom of my paper. So taking another brush, I'm going to be giving you some white and brown paint, and you're going to actually make a little bit lighter brown color by mixing the two together. So you'll mix those together. And all we're going to do is paint along the bottom edge because we have to create a table for our vase. So I'm going to mix those two colors together. And you can clean out your big brush in the water. Use a paper towel to dry it off a little bit. Then take your brown color, paint a line going across the bottom. And then paint that brown all the way to the bottom edge. So we are now going to create the look of a table. If you get a little tiny bit of paint on the table, that's all right. We'll be cleaning them off then. And again, you want to go side to side, not up and down, not in circles, side to side with your brush here. Clean up that edge a bit. If it looks a little thin, just go back over it. Because the paper is wet, it will get absorbed pretty quick, or it will get absorbed and maybe even spread out a little bit from the paper being wet. So if that happens, it's okay. We're just gonna let it dry a little tiny bit and then go back over it with our paint again. So I will now just try to sort of even off this edge a bit and fill in any areas that look a little bit light. All right, and that will take care of the first step of our still life painting.